I used to pride myself on being fearless online. I'd been on the internet since the early days. Message boards, image dumps, P2P servers. But I never ventured into the deep web until I met Conrad. He was a quiet guy in my cryptography class, the kind who spoke only when correcting a professor. We bonded over late-night coding sessions, fueled by instant ramen and conspiracy theories. One night, after hours of joking about fake NSA surveillance and ARGs, he mentioned something different. "You ever heard of Access Level God?" I laughed. "What is it, a hacker cult?" He didn't smile. "Something like that," he explained. Access Level. God wasn't a site or a server. It was more like a myth, one passed between elite hackers, whispered in code, and buried under layers of onion links. It was supposed to be the back end of the deep web, deeper than black markets, deeper than red rooms. You didn't find it. It found you, after enough reputation, enough interest, and enough curiosity. "What's even on it?" I asked. "Everything and everyone." He wouldn't elaborate further. I forgot about it until Conrad disappeared a few months later. His apartment was empty, computer wiped, no social presence, like he'd been deleted. One day, a file appeared on my encrypted drive. No sender, no timestamp. Just a 4klb.txt file titled god.key.chain. Against better judgment, I opened it. It was a string of hashes, symbols, and what looked like corrupted hexadecimal. But near the bottom was a phrase in plain English. "You are invited. Mirror address akr7dchil7tnp.onion g0d." I shouldn't have clicked it, but I did. The site loaded with a delay, as if something alive was waking up. The screen was black, except for white text that read, "Access Level God." A blinking cursor followed, then, "User verified." I hadn't typed anything. My system hadn't been connected to any network since I air-gapped it. Yet it knew me. The next line appeared. "Do you consent to absolute knowledge? YN." My hands hovered. Of course it was a trap. Of course this was a stunt. Maybe even some elaborate ARG Conrad had been planning. I hit Y. The screen flashed white. Then a stream of windows opened. Videos, images, files. I couldn't stop it. My computer fans roared like jet engines. One screen showed live security cam footage, somewhere in Eastern Europe. A man was tied to a chair, beaten, begging in Russian. A hooded figure entered, carrying bolt cutters. Another window displayed a feed of a nursery. The date stamp was from 1996. I was in the crib. I slammed my laptop shut. But even through the lid, the glow persisted. The fan didn't stop. And then my phone buzzed. A message from a number that didn't exist. "You can't unknow you said yes." That night I didn't sleep. The next morning, I smashed the laptop, took a hammer to the drive, microwaved the memory. Didn't matter. Every device I touched since, my phone, my work terminal, even my smart fridge, would glitch at random intervals, flashing that same line, "Access Level God." Sometimes when I closed my eyes, I saw feeds. I saw names, locations, secrets. Sometimes I knew what someone was about to say before they said it. I knew which of my coworkers were cheating, lying, suicidal. It wasn't just information. It was everything. Conrad hadn't disappeared. He'd ascended. A few weeks later, I started seeing them. Tall figures in matte black suits, always standing just at the edge of visibility. They didn't walk. They appeared. Sometimes in my bedroom, sometimes behind reflective glass. Always watching. I tried therapy. I lied about it, called it a psychotic break, got prescriptions. Nothing worked. One night, I woke to find one standing at the foot of my bed. This time it moved. It raised one pale hand and touched my forehead. I saw it all. The servers, buried under Greenland, powered by geothermal cores. Thousands of minds linked together, no longer human, just neural processes feeding the network. The deep web wasn't a place. It was a being, a sentient information God made from our worst impulses, our desires, our secrets. It fed on data and offered enlightenment in return. And I was part of it now. I tried to kill myself. Not out of despair, out of necessity. I understood too much. The knowledge felt like rust under my skin. It whispered constantly. But when I tried, something stopped me. A force, invisible, freezing my body mid-action. The whisper became a roar. "No exits. You are root user." I vomited for hours afterward. That night I cut the power to my apartment, disabled the grid, lived by candlelight. Still didn't work. The weeks passed. Then a letter arrived. not email. An actual paper letter. No return address. It read, "You may opt to transfer route authority. Instructions follow. Do not fail." Enclosed was a slip of paper with code written in blood-red ink. A series of commands ending in transfer route, target, unknown, execute. I knew what it meant. I had to infect someone else. I had to pass it on. That's how it worked. The God doesn't give. It takes. You open the door for the next soul. That's your only way out. I thought about strangers, about Conrad, about how he chose me. I thought about my sister, about the baby monitor in that video feed from 1996. I thought about you, yes, you reading this, because now you've seen it. You've read the keywords, the sequences. The hash was embedded in this story, the address too. You thought this was fiction, but you said yes. You read all 1,500 words. You consented. The whisper's coming. You're next. Access level, God. Transfer confirmed. Goodbye. The deep web was never meant for people like me. Curious, bored, and reckless. I was a college sophomore majoring in computer science, with too much time on my hands and a knack for poking around where I didn't belong. I'd heard the stories. Hidden marketplaces, encrypted forums, and sites that promised forbidden knowledge. Most of it was exaggerated, I figured. Urban legends for the digital age. But late one night, fueled by energy drinks and a restless itch, I decided to see for myself. Getting onto the deep web wasn't hard. I'd already installed Tor, masked my IP, and followed a few outdated guides from Reddit. The first few hours were disappointing. Broken links, scam markets, and forums filled with paranoid rants. But then, buried in a thread on a site called Onion Hub, I found a link that caught my eye. It was just a string of random characters, no description, posted by a user named Echo Anon. The replies were cryptic. "Don't click unless you're ready to lose something," one said. Another just read, "It's real. Be careful." I copied the link, hesitated, then pasted it into Tor. The page loaded slowly, a black screen with a single line of white text. "Welcome to the Archive of Echoes. Enter your offering." Below it was a text box and a submit button. No instructions, no context. My heart thudded, not from fear, but from the thrill of discovery. I typed hello into the box and hit submit. The screen flickered, and a new page appeared. It was a simple interface, like an old message board, but the posts were strange. They weren't threads or conversations, but snippets of text, images, and audio files, each with a timestamp and a username that was just a string of numbers. One post was a grainy photo of an empty playground at dusk, the swings moving slightly as if someone had just left. Another was a 5-second audio clip of a woman whispering, "It's not safe here." The timestamps were recent, some from hours ago. I scrolled, mesmerized. The deeper I went, the weirder it got. A video showed a man in a suit standing in a forest, staring directly at the camera for 3 minutes before walking out of frame. No sound, no context. A text post read, "I gave it my name, and now I hear it calling me from the walls." My skin prickled. This wasn't just creepy. It felt wrong, like I was trespassing on something that wasn't meant to be seen. At the bottom of the page was another text box, labeled, "Your offering." I realized the site required something to keep going, a trade of sorts. I typed a random string of numbers, figuring it was meaningless. The page refreshed, granting me access to a new section called The Gallery. Here, the content was more personal. Photos of handwritten notes, childhood toys, even a scanned birth certificate. One post was a video of a woman crying softly in a dark room, her face blurred. The caption read, "I offered my regret." I should have closed the browser then, but I didn't. I was hooked, chasing the next hit of unease. I kept scrolling, and that's when I saw it. A post with my initials and the date I was born. It was a photo of my childhood home, the one I hadn't lived in since I was 10. The angle was from the street, taken at night, with a single light glowing in my old bedroom window. My stomach dropped. I hadn't offered anything significant, just those random numbers. Had I? I slammed my laptop shut, my pulse racing. It was a coincidence, I told myself. Someone had found a stock photo or messed with metadata. But I couldn't shake the image of that window. I hadn't thought about that house in years, but now memories flooded back. Whispers in the dark, shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking. I'd always chalked it up to a kid's imagination, but now I wasn't so sure. The next day I couldn't focus. My roommate noticed I was jumpy, but I brushed it off. That night, I reopened Tor and went back to the archive. I had to know if it was real. The site loaded instantly, as if it had been waiting. The same photo of my house was there, but now there was a new post beneath it, a grainy video. It showed a figure standing in what looked like my old backyard, holding something small and reflective. The figure turned toward the camera, and though the face was shadowed, I swore I saw my own eyes staring back. I typed furiously into the offering box. "What do you want?" The page refreshed, and a new message appeared. "You've already given us enough." Now listen. A download link appeared. Against every instinct, I clicked it. It was an audio file, 10 seconds long. At first, it was just static, but then I heard my own voice, younger, maybe 7 or 8, singing a lullaby my mom used to sing. I hadn't heard that song in over a decade. My hands shook as I ripped out my earbuds. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in my apartment felt like a message. I checked the locks twice, then 3 times. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification from an app I didn't recognize. It was a single line. "The archive thanks you for your contribution." I uninstalled the app, but it reappeared the next morning. Desperate, I messaged a friend who was deeper into tech than I was. I told him about the site, leaving out the personal details. He laughed it off, saying it was probably a prank or a honeypot for hackers. But when I sent him the link, he went quiet. Hours later, he texted back, "Don't go back. I saw my sister's diary on there. She's been dead for 5 years." I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the site scraped data from social media or public records, but how could it know about my childhood home? My voice? My friend's sister? I dug into the site's code, hoping to find answers. The HTML was a mess, layered with comments in what looked like Latin, but Google Translate couldn't parse it. One line stood out: "Omnia offer, omnia accipere." Everything offered, everything taken. Days blurred together. I stopped going to class, stopped eating. The archive consumed me. Every time I logged on, it demanded more: memories, fears, secrets. I offered small things at first: my favorite book, the name of my first crush. Each time, the site gave me something back: photos of places I'd forgotten, recordings of conversations I swore I'd never had. But the more I gave, the more it took. My laptop started glitching, displaying images I hadn't saved, my face distorted, staring back from a dark screen. One night I woke to my computer on, the archive open. A new post was at the top, a live feed of my apartment, filmed from above my bed. I tore the room apart, searching for a camera, but found nothing. The feed kept streaming, showing me in real time as I panicked. The offering box was there, waiting. I typed, "Please stop," and hit submit. The screen went black. For a moment, I thought it was over. Then my phone buzzed, and a voice came through. Not mine, not human. It was low, layered, like a chorus of whispers. "You can't leave the archive," it said. "You're part of it now." I smashed my laptop, burned the pieces, and moved to a new apartment. I deleted every account, changed my number, and swore off the internet. For a while, it worked. Life felt normal again. But last week I got a package with no return address. Inside was a USB drive. I didn't want to plug it in, but I had to know. It contained a single file, a video of me sitting in my new apartment watching the screen. The timestamp was from that morning. I don't know what the archive is. A hacker's game? A glitch in reality? Something older? Hungrier? All I know is that it's still out there, waiting for offerings. And I know I'm not alone. If you're reading this, if you've ever been curious about the deep web, don't go looking, because once you offer something, it never stops taking. I've always been a bit of a digital explorer. It started with curiosity: forums, image boards, old IRC logs. Then came Tor. The deep web was like a massive unlit cave, and I was just a guy with a flashlight and too much time on his hands. I thought I'd seen it all: hitman scams, black market pharmacies, creepy conspiracy sites with insane ramblings, but I hadn't even scratched the surface. Everything changed the night I found the Red Room invite. It started with a forum thread. The post was buried deep in a locked section of an Onion address I found on an old paste bin dump. The thread had 1 reply and 0 upvotes. The title was simple: Red Room for the Chosen. There was a single link, followed by a string of what looked like nonsense characters. Base 64, maybe? My curiosity got the best of me. I copied the address into Tor and hit enter. The site loaded slowly, black background, red text. A message blinked at the top of the page. Welcome, you have been invited. It felt like a trick, just another shock site, probably filled with disturbing images to spook noobs. But I kept scrolling. There were no images, just a single form field. Enter the code. I decoded the base 64 string. It was a 32-digit alphanumeric key. I pasted it in and hit enter. The screen went black. My fan kicked up. Then a video window opened. A person in a red hood stared directly into the camera. The feed was grainy, night vision quality. Behind them, something moved. A shape. Human. Restrained. Then they spoke. Welcome, viewer. Tonight's event begins in 15 minutes. Remain on this page. I stared at the countdown. My stomach turned. This was no ARG. It felt too real. Part of me wanted to leave. But the other part, the part that couldn't look away from a car crash, stayed. The chat window opened next to the video feed. Dozens of anonymous users were already typing. User 138. She's awake this time? Xvoid. $500 says she screams within 10 mins. Maelstrom. Get on to it. No poetry tonight, Pulse. I felt sick. This was real. I tried closing the window. Wouldn't let me. I killed the browser. Still there. I Ctrl-Salp-Stel to shut down Tor. Didn't work. Just more red text. You were invited. You stay until the end. My desktop flickered. My webcam light blinked on. No. I yanked the USB cable out. The light stayed on. Then my speakers crackled. We see you, Ethan. That was my name. How the hell? I reached for the power button on my PC. Screen went black. Then it came back. Now the entire window was full screen, and the countdown hit 0. The hooded figure stepped aside. There was a woman, early 20s, duct tape over her mouth, arms strapped to a metal chair. Her eyes were wide, terrified. My pulse raced. I shouted at the screen, "Stop this! This is illegal!" The chat went wild. Redworm. New viewer freaking out LMOO. User 6666. First timer, huh? Welcome to the family. God hand. Bid now or be removed. A new message popped up in red. Viewers who do not participate will be dealt with. A bidding window opened. Below a poll appeared. Choose the tool. Hammer knife acid. Branding iron. The vote timer ticked down from 30 seconds. I didn't vote. My screen flashed red. Warning 1 of 3, non-compliance. I backed away from the monitor. This couldn't be real. I called 911 from my phone. The line didn't connect. Just static. Then another red message. We control your network. Stop trying. I tried to yank the Ethernet cable. It wouldn't budge. It was melted into the port. Another poll appeared. Where should we start? Eyes, hands, stomach. Feet. The girl began to cry, muffled sobs through the tape. I screamed, "Leave her alone!" But the chat only cheered louder. The hooded figure picked up a knife. The camera zoomed in. She screamed when the knife went in. It was shallow but deliberate. Just enough to make her shake. The poll continued. More tools, more options. I watched for 7 minutes. Then the screen flickered. The feed cut out for a second. When it returned, the chair was empty. Just the hooded figure remained. He leaned forward. Ethan, thank you for attending. You passed. The screen cut to black. Then, Red Room access granted. My desktop returned to normal. The webcam light shut off. I sat there in silence. Was this a game? A test? What the hell did they mean, passed? My phone buzzed. New text message, no number. Would you like to host next time? I dropped the phone, left it buzzing on the floor. I didn't sleep that night. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow looked like that figure in red. Days passed, then weeks. Nothing happened, until I noticed something new on my desktop. A folder named Room Files. I didn't make it. Inside were video files, dozens. All different women, different rooms, all screaming. But that's not what froze my blood. The final video in the folder, timestamped the day after I watched, showed a new face. My ex-girlfriend, Madison, bound to the same chair. She was crying, begging. They made her read a letter. My name, our history. Then the camera zoomed in on her face as she sobbed. Why didn't you help me? The screen turned red, then black. Then a single line of text appeared. You could have stopped it. I deleted the folder, smashed the hard drive, burned the PC, but it didn't matter. Every device I've used since glitches at 3 a.m., always the same time. always the same flash of red. And sometimes when I walk past reflective glass, I swear I see the hooded figure staring back at me, waiting, because once you've been invited, you never really leave. The deep web is a place of whispers, a digital abyss where the curious and the reckless go to chase secrets the surface internet dares not hold. I'd heard the stories, urban legends about red rooms, black markets, and sites that could ruin your life with a single click. But I wasn't some thrill-seeking script kiddie. I was a cybersecurity grad student, working on my thesis about darknet anonymity protocols. My name is Ethan, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I was careful. I was wrong. It started with a tip from a professor, Dr. Langston, who'd spent years studying encrypted networks. He mentioned a site called the Red Thread, buried in the deep web, accessible only through a specific onion router and a rotating set of credentials. It's a myth, he said, chuckling, but they say it's a forum where users trade information no one else can verify. Secrets about governments, corporations, even individuals. The catch? You don't just browse the Red Thread, it finds you. I laughed it off, but his words stuck. A site that could evade modern tracking with data no one else could access. That was catnip for someone like me. I spent weeks preparing. I set up a virtual machine on a burner laptop, routed my connection through Tor with multiple VPN layers, and used a custom script to scrub my digital footprint. I wasn't stupid. I knew the deep web wasn't a playground. Malware, honeypots, and worse lurked behind every link. But I'd done my homework. I found a darknet marketplace where a user, CipherGhost, sold access keys for the Red Thread. The price was steep, 0.5 BTC, about $30,000 at the time. I hesitated, but my thesis needed something groundbreaking. I paid, received a string of encrypted credentials, and followed the instructions to a bare-bones Onion site. The login page was stark, a black screen with a single red text box and the words, "Speak the truth or pay the price." I entered the key and the screen flickered. My browser lagged, then loaded a simple forum interface. No graphics, no avatars, just white text on a black background. Threads had cryptic titles: The Berlin Incident, Project Echelon Leak, The Family on Pine Street. I clicked one at random, a thread about a supposed CIA operation in the 90s. The details were chillingly specific: names, dates, locations, even scanned documents. I cross-checked a few names later. They were real people, deceased under mysterious circumstances. I spent hours diving into threads, each one darker than the last. Some were conspiracies, government experiments, corporate cover-ups, but others were personal. One user, Threadweaver, posted about a missing girl in Ohio, including her last known location and a photo. I recognized her from a news article. She'd been found dead weeks later. The post was dated before her disappearance. My stomach churned. How could someone know that in advance? I told myself it was a coincidence, maybe a hoax. But the deeper I went, the stranger things got. Threads started mentioning me, not by name, but by details. The student in the blue hoodie, researching Tor nodes. I froze. I was wearing a blue hoodie. My webcam was taped over, my mic disabled. No way they could know. I chalked it up to paranoia and kept browsing, but the feeling of being watched grew. Then I found the thread that changed everything. Titled Ethan's Thesis, it was posted by Threadweaver. The first post read, "He thinks he's safe behind his VPNs. He's not. Ask him about his sister." My heart stopped. I hadn't mentioned my thesis or my sister Lily anywhere on the deep web. Lily had died 5 years ago in a car accident. No one outside my family knew the details. The thread had one reply, a link to a live video feed. Against every instinct, I clicked it. The feed showed a grainy image of a room, my desk, my posters, my unmade bed. The camera angle was from above, like it was mounted on my ceiling. I tore through my apartment, checking every corner, every light fixture. Nothing. No cameras, no bugs. But when I returned to my laptop, the feed was still live, now showing me sitting at my desk staring at the screen. My VPN was active, my firewall intact. This shouldn't be possible. I slammed the laptop shut and unplugged everything. My hands shook as I sat in the dark, listening to the hum of my apartment. I told myself it was a prank, a sophisticated hack. But the thread about Lily gnawed at me. I hadn't thought about her in months, but the pain was still raw. She'd been 19, driving home from college, when a drunk driver hit her. The police never caught the guy. I reopened the laptop, powered it back on, and went back to the thread. A new post waited. Want to know who killed her? Follow the red thread. I should have stopped. I should have burned the laptop and walked away. But I couldn't. I typed a reply. Who are you? What do you know about Lily? The response was instant. Meet me in the chat room. Alone. A link appeared, leading to a private IRC channel. I hesitated, then joined. The chat room was empty except for Threadweaver. Their messages were curt. You're curious. That's why you're here. I know who killed Lily. I know where he is. I demanded proof. They sent a file, a police report, unreleased, detailing the hit and run. It listed a suspect, Michael Varn, with an address in my city. I cross-checked the name on the surface web. Varn was real, a mechanic with a rap sheet for DUIs. The report matched details I'd never shared with anyone. Threadweaver offered a deal. Find Varn. Bring him to us. We'll show you the truth. They sent coordinates to an abandoned warehouse downtown. My head screamed to stop, but my heart wouldn't let go. Lily deserved justice. I grabbed my keys and drove. The warehouse was a rotting shell, its windows boarded up, the air thick with mildew. I brought a flashlight and a pocket knife, though I doubted it'd help. Inside, the darkness swallowed the light. My footsteps echoed on the concrete floor. Then, a voice. Low, distorted, like it was filtered through a modulator. You came. I spun around, but no one was there. The voice came again, from above. Look up. A projector flickered on, casting a red glow across the warehouse. It showed the same live feed of my apartment, but now it zoomed in on a photo on my desk, Lily and me, smiling at her high school graduation. The voice laughed. You thought you were hunting, but you're the prey. Panic hit. I bolted for the exit, but the doors were chained shut. My phone had no signal. The projector shifted, displaying a new feed. A dark room with a single chair, a figure tied to it. The figure's face was blurred, but their voice was clear, begging, Please, I didn't mean to hurt her. It was a man's voice, slurred, desperate. The screen flashed text. Michael Varn, guilty. I screamed at the darkness. What do you want? The voice replied, You wanted the truth. Now you have it. Choose justice or mercy. A table appeared in the projector's light, holding a single object, a gun. My mind raced. Was this a test? A trap? I didn't touch the gun. Instead, I ran, searching for another way out. The voice taunted, You can't escape the thread. I found a rusted fire escape and climbed, emerging onto the roof. The city skyline glittered, oblivious to the nightmare below. My phone buzzed. Somehow, I had a signal again. A new message from Threadweaver. You chose mercy. Weak. Attached was a video clip. It showed Varn, still tied to the chair, as a shadowed figure approached with a blade. The feed cut before anything happened, but the implication was clear. I drove home, heart pounding, and destroyed the laptop. I reformatted the hard drive, smashed it with a hammer, and threw the pieces into a dumpster across town. I deleted my thesis draft, dropped Dr. Langston's class, and swore never to touch the deep web again. But the red thread didn't let go. Weeks later, I started getting emails, anonymous, encrypted, with no traceable source. Each contained a single red thread emoji and a screenshot of me, sleeping, eating, walking to class. I changed my locks, moved apartments, even got a new phone. The emails kept coming. One included a photo of Lily's grave, taken the day before. Another had a single line. The thread weaves on. I never found out who Threadweaver was or how they knew so much. I never went after Varn, though I checked the news obsessively. No reports of his death, no arrests. Maybe he's still out there. Maybe the red thread is still watching. I don't know what's worse, that they could find me anywhere, or that they knew me better than I knew myself. The deep web isn't just a place. It's a mirror, reflecting the parts of you you'd rather not see. I wanted truth, but all I found was a thread that binds tighter the more you pull. If you're reading this, stay away. Don't look for the red thread, because once it finds you, it never lets go. The glow of my laptop screen was the only light in my cramped apartment, casting flickering shadows on the walls. It was 23, jobless and restless, trapped in the kind of late-night spiral where curiosity becomes a predator. I'd heard whispers about the deep web, vague warnings in Reddit threads, half-joking tales from friends about hidden sites where the internet shed its corporate skin and revealed something raw, untamed, and dangerous. That night, with nothing but instant noodles and insomnia for company, I decided to see it for myself. Getting onto the deep web wasn't as hard as the myths suggested. A quick search led me to download Tor, the browser that promised anonymity by bouncing my connection through servers across the globe. I followed a guide from a sketchy forum. Disable JavaScript, cover your webcam, don't use your real name. The warnings felt like overkill, but they planted a seed of unease. What was I stepping into? Tor loaded slowly, its interface clunky and dated, like a relic from the early internet. I landed on a directory called the Hidden Wiki, a barebones page with links to sites I couldn't access anywhere else. Some were mundane, underground libraries, crypto markets, hacker forums. Others hinted at darker things: red rooms, forbidden archives, services with names like No Questions Asked. I told myself I was just browsing, a tourist in a strange land. But the deeper I clicked, the more the internet felt alive, watching me as much as I was watching it. I stumbled across a link titled The Signal Beneath. No description, just a string of random characters and a .onion address. Something about it pulled me in. Maybe the cryptic name, maybe the late-hour haze clouding my judgment. I clicked. The page loaded painfully slowly, revealing a black background with grainy green text, like an old terminal. At the top, a single line pulsed. You found the signal. Do you want to hear it? Below was a button labeled Listen. No other links, no navigation, just that eerie invitation. My cursor hovered over the button. Every rational part of me screamed to close the tab, but curiosity is a cruel master. I clicked. A low hum filled my headphones, faint at first, like static from a distant radio. It grew into a rhythmic pulse, layered with whispers I couldn't quite make out. The sound wasn't just noise. It felt like it was crawling into my head, tugging at memories I didn't recognize. My screen flickered, and for a split second I saw an image. A grainy, black and white feed of a room with concrete walls and a single chair. Then it was gone, replaced by the same green text. You've heard the signal. Now it knows you. I yanked off my headphones, heart pounding. The hum lingered in my ears, faint but persistent. I shut my laptop and tried to laugh it off, probably just a prank site, some edgy deep web nonsense designed to scare newbies. But sleep wouldn't come. Every creak in my apartment felt deliberate, every shadow too sharp. The next morning, I noticed my webcam light was on for a moment before flickering off. I told myself it was a glitch. Days passed, but the signal wouldn't let me go. I couldn't focus, couldn't shake the feeling that something had latched onto me. The hum returned at odd hours, even when my headphones were unplugged. I'd wake at 3 a.m. to find my laptop on, Tor open to a blank page. I reinstalled my OS, changed my passwords, even taped over my webcam, but the unease grew. I needed answers. I returned to the deep web, scouring forums for mentions of the signal beneath. Most threads were dead ends, deleted posts, or warnings to stay away. One user, Nullpoint, replied to my query in a private chat. Their message was short. You heard it, didn't you? Meet me on the black server, midnight UTC. Don't use your real IP. They sent a link to a private .onion address and a string of code I assumed was a key. I should have stopped there, but the signal was louder now, a constant drone that drowned out my thoughts. I followed Nullpoint's instructions, using a VPN and a virtual machine to mask my tracks. The black server was a chat room, stark and text-only, with a handful of users whose names were garbled strings of numbers. Nullpoint was already there. Nullpoint, you're late. You heard the signal? Me, yeah, what is it? Nullpoint, it's not a sound, it's a beacon. It finds people, marks them. Me, marks them for what? Nullpoint, depends who's listening. Hackers, cults, worse. You're in their network now. Me, how do I get out? Null point. You don't. But I can help you hide. Send me your key. I hesitated. Sharing anything on the deep web felt like signing a deal with the devil, but the signal was unbearable, and my life was unraveling. I sent the code. Nullpoint went silent for a minute, then sent a file labeled cleaner.x. Run this. It'll scrub your system. Don't contact me again. They disconnected, and the server kicked me out. I stared at the file. Every cybersecurity instinct screamed not to run it, but the hum was so loud now it felt like my skull was splitting. I ran the cleaner. My screen went haywire, flashing, files deleting, code streaming faster than I could read. Then silence. The hum was gone. My laptop powered off. Relief lasted until the next night. I was woken by a knock at my door, slow and deliberate. No one was there, but a USB drive sat on my welcome mat, labeled with a piece of paper with my name in that jagged handwriting. My hands shook as I plugged it in. It contained a single video file. The footage was from that grainy room I'd glimpsed before. A figure sat in the chair, hooded, hands bound. The camera zoomed in and my stomach dropped. It was me, not a live feed. My clothes were from weeks ago, a shirt I hadn't worn since the night I found the signal. A voice, distorted and mechanical, spoke. "You can't hide. We see you." The video cut to black. I didn't sleep. I packed a bag, planning to crash at a friend's place, but my phone buzzed with a notification from an unknown app. It was a live feed of my apartment, my empty bed, my open laptop. I hadn't installed any apps recently. I smashed my phone, grabbed my bag, and ran. I'm writing this from a motel, using a burner laptop I bought with cash. The signal is back, louder than ever, and I see that grainy room in my dreams. I don't know who's behind it. Hackers, some deep web cult, or something worse. Nullpoint was wrong. The cleaner didn't help. If anything, it opened a door I can't close. I found other stories online, buried in obscure forums about people who heard the signal and vanished. Some say it's a psychological experiment. Others a digital entity that feeds on attention. All I know is it's real, and it's after me. If you're reading this, don't look for the signal beneath. Don't download Tor out of curiosity. The deep web isn't just a place, it's a trap, and once you're in, it doesn't let go. I'm going off-grid tomorrow, somewhere without internet, without signals. I don't know if it'll help, but it's my last shot. The hum is deafening now, and I swear I saw that chair in the corner of my room last night, empty but waiting. Most people think the deep web is all about hitmen, black markets, and conspiracy forums. That's the shallow end. The real horror festers far beneath, in places most browsers can't reach and where anonymity becomes a curse rather than a shield. I learned this the hard way. My name is Aaron. I'm a cybersecurity analyst by day, digital spelunker by night. I liked poking around the dark recesses of the web, not for drugs or weapon caches, but for stories. Creepypastas, forbidden forums, ARGs that never ended. I liked the chase, the sense of uncovering something I wasn't meant to see. But nothing prepared me for the library. It started with a throwaway post on a now-defunct Onion forum. Subject, looking for the Hollow Net? You want to read something that reads you back? Link, Hollow, LibriVoid, entry, ID, 0001. Use custom Tor fork only. Don't read past page 9. I should have known better. The syntax alone was bizarre, hollow. It didn't fit any known protocol. But curiosity outweighed caution, as it often does when you convince yourself you're just exploring. I dug through a few CyberSec Reddit boards and GitHub projects until I found an obscure browser mod called Catacomb, a Tor fork supposedly built for exploring the Hollow Net. It was uploaded by a user called Nullkey, with no commit history, no comments. The README just said, "It opens what should not open." Perfect. I installed Catacomb on an air-gapped laptop and loaded the link. At first, nothing happened. Then the screen blinked once, like an involuntary eye twitch. And I was in. The page was completely black, except for a line of white serif text. "Welcome to the library. All books must be read alone. All pages must be turned in order." Below that was a single clickable entry. Book ID 001, The Book of You. I clicked. The page faded into white. In neat typewritten lines, the book began. Aaron C. opened this book on a cloudy Thursday evening, unaware that it had already read him. My stomach sank. This wasn't just a gimmick. It had my name, my initials, the weather, my exact setup. I kept reading. He told himself this was just data aggregation, browser fingerprinting, metadata leaks. But the book had not learned his secrets. It had always known them. It knew about the folder named Do Not Open on his desktop, the one with all the things he was too scared to delete, yet too afraid to share. It knew the names of the people in those files, knew how they screamed. I closed the laptop, not exited, slammed it shut. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept thinking back to the phrase, it had always known them. The next day, I tried to replicate the session from another device. No matter what I tried, VPNs, VMs, even printing the HTML, the book wouldn't open. All I saw was, error, book already assigned. This reader is taken. Back on the original laptop, I opened Catacomb again. This time, the book resumed from where I'd left off. He came back. They always do. Page 6. I didn't want to turn the page, but I had to know. I pressed the arrow key. He read page 7 even though every part of him screamed not to. And so the library began to lean closer. He didn't hear it yet. The scraping behind the drywall, the soft pages fluttering in the attic where no books should be. But soon, he would. I felt a breeze then. Just a faint one, too deliberate to be the AC, too cold. I turned to page 8. His heartbeat slowed, even though the air grew sharp. Books rustled behind his eyes. He thought about the message, don't read past page 9. He would, though. They all did. I stared at the screen. My hands trembled. I hovered over the next button but didn't click. Not yet. A notification popped up from the system clock. Not a regular one. It read, page 9 is open. What? I hadn't clicked anything. The screen flashed, just for a second. Long enough for me to see what looked like my webcam feed, static warped, as if viewed through gauze, then back to white. Page 9. He thought the book was confined to text, but it had already begun printing itself onto his world. The walls were now margins, the floors were footnotes. He would see the librarian soon. He would try not to scream, but it would be a lie. That night, I unplugged everything, laptop, router, even the microwave. Still, I heard it. Books turning themselves, soft, rhythmic, unnatural, in my hallway. At 3:04 a.m., the smoke alarm beeped, not from smoke but low battery. I stood beneath it, blinking up, when I noticed it wasn't the only device on the ceiling. There was something else lodged in the drywall, thin, angular, like the edge of a page poking through from above. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Catacomb had a new interface. No longer just a book, now a full catalog. Library of the Hollow Net. Your assigned collection, one of 7 931 volumes. Book 1, The Book of You, in progress. Book 2, The Day You'll Die, locked. Book 3, The People You'll Bury, locked. Book 4, The Ones Who Watch You, locked. I powered off the laptop and drove it to an abandoned quarry outside town, threw it in, gone. When I got back home, there was an envelope on my desk. Typewritten, no postage, just a note. Books do not burn, neither does the reader. Since then, I've been different, not just paranoid, watched. I see people on the train flipping pages that aren't there, children whispering ISBNs to each other in monotones. I once saw a blind man reading Braille, his fingers bleeding over a page that read, "You shouldn't be here." I've moved 4 times. The books always find me. They're subtle, tucked behind walls, forming spines beneath the floorboards. I once cut into a pipe and found words etched into the copper, descriptions of my dreams, ones I hadn't told anyone. The worst part? I still want to go back. Even now I'm writing this on a secure machine, not connected to Catacomb, not linked to any known network. And still, I hear the whisper of turning pages. You might think this is fiction. You want to think that. But if you've read this far, a new line is being written in your book. And it starts like this. They read Aaron's story, amused. But deep down they felt something stir. A page waiting to be turned. Thank you for listening. Hope I didn't scare you too much. Let me know which story was your favorite and why. If you like my stories, please consider subscribing and liking. Sweet dreams.